Most people assume success comes from working harder, but what if it comes from working in a way that's actually aligned with who you are? In this episode, Hannah Becker breaks down human design, how it influences business and decision making, and why trusting yourself may be more important than following someone else's proven formula. Welcome to How to Be a Person, a podcast about life, with me, your host, Giuliano Grimaudo. Hannah, thanks so much for joining me today. How's it going?
It's going well. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited for our conversation. For anybody listening who doesn't know how Hannah and I connected, we actually connected on Threads. It's funny because the last couple of episodes, I've been talking about Threads a little bit and how I feel like there's kind of, I guess just to simplify it, I just feel like there's a lot of negativity on Threads. And so when I connect with people that I feel like are, trying to make a positive impact over there, I always really enjoy it. And that's how we connected, was over on Threads. So I'm excited for us to talk a little bit. I have a couple things that I wanted to talk about, but maybe what we could do first is if you could just introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So my name's Hannah Becker, and I am a business strategist who also uses human design to help my clients create aligned businesses that actually feel good to run and create massive wealth. And I've been in business coaching for about 6 years. Before that, I was in marketing and sales for corporations, and I moved slowly into the coaching industry. I ran a marketing agency for a while, but now I'm mainly doing strategy coaching and business advisory. So I love what I do, and I'm all about, what's really, really important to me is empowered business. And what I mean by empowered business is when you run a business the way that most people teach you how to run a business, it's because somebody gave you a model and said, here, go plug into this, and here's how you're going to post. Here's what you're going to say. Here's what you're going to sell. Here's how you're going to sell it. And all of that, what that slowly does over time is it disempowers the person because they end up feeling like they don't have choice or agency or decision inside of their business because they have to do what works versus what's truly in alignment and what's truly empowering for them. So my job is to help people undo all of that conditioning so that they can create a business where they are empowered. They're driven by agency, like their personal agency and alignment. By agency, I just mean decision-making power. Yeah. And so that the business that they end up with feels good, actually gives them the results that they want to see in their life and their finances, and creates a sense of aliveness in who that they have the capacity to be as a business owner. So
yeah, I love that so much. I think a lot of people fall into this trap where they see someone else having success with a certain business model or a certain strategy, and they go, oh, well, I can do that. And this is not a judgment because I have done this over and over again. And I go, oh, that's easy. I could do that.
Yeah.
And you don't get the same results. And I think over time I've realized, oh, wait a second. That person found the business model, the strategy, the thing that was in alignment for them. And that's why it worked so well. And the funny thing is that for them, they also believe that they're doing you a service, right? They go, hey, I did this. It worked. I can tell you exactly what to do. And they pass it along to you. And sometimes it works, maybe because it's in alignment or maybe just from pure, brute force.
Exactly.
But then other times it's like, hey, it just doesn't work because it's just out of alignment with who you are as a person. And obviously we can speak practically, right? You can say, hey, maybe there's certain things that if you just set human design aside, it's like, hey, this is just not something I enjoy, or it's not something that's like a natural skill for me. But then also you have the human design side of it where it's like, actually we're speaking about alignment with this specific human design thing. So for people who are listening are like, what the hell is human design? Can you tell me a little bit about it and we can dive into it more?
Yeah, absolutely. So human design, and I will say first and foremost, coming into this work, I was a complete skeptic, 100% did not buy it, did not believe it, thought it was crap. But, the creator of human design, his name was Ra Uru Hu, which sounds very goofy. And I know, I get it. Like, you're listening right now and like, what crock of shit are you going to sell me right
Yep,
now?
exactly.
Listen, I thought the exact same thing. But what he said was, do not believe a word I say. You try it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, let it go. So I tried it and I started learning about it. I started actually applying the principles into my own life. First, it was just in alignment with, it had nothing to do with business. It was like just me feeling good in my own body and my own decision making and learning how to actually make intuitive decisions instead of everything coming from logic and reason, because I'd made a lot of logical and reasonable choices in my life, but it didn't take me to where I wanted to be. So I stumbled across human design and was like, maybe this could be something. And for the first few, I would say like months or a year even, I was like, I still don't know if I really buy this. But then once I started to really integrate it into more and more areas of my life, and things started to go better and better for me and feel better and better, it just became really undeniable that it was
Yeah.
legitimate.
Yeah.
And so it's a combination of systems. So Ra Uru Hu, the originator of this, he brought together systems that the Chinese I Ching. He brought together conventional Western astrology. He brought together the Kabbalah from the Jewish tradition. And then he blended all of these things and the chakra system. He blended all of these systems into one cohesive unit called human design. And so these empirical systems, which have been studied for literally thousands of years and validated by many, many people, I think most people who are naysayers to astrology and human design don't understand it well enough and haven't spent enough time with it to actually invalidate it, because I was a skeptic when I
Yeah.
first came to it, was complete atheistic and not believing in anything. And suddenly my life started to transform as a result of really integrating and implementing it just to try it on like Raw said. But it changed me, my level of happiness, my level of anxiety, the way that I feel in my physical body, the way I interact in relationship, and the amount of money I make now. Now that I really understand the system and I learned how to apply it to business, my business feels like better than ever in my entire life. And I've been running a business collectively for 10 years.
Yeah.
And now that I'm here, I can confidently say human design, for the people who truly want to give it a shot, works. For those who are coming in it from a very skeptical perspective, it can even work for them. So that's
Yeah. You know, what's funny is I didn't realize that the person who created it also said, oh, well, I mean, just try it. And if it works, great. If not, don't do it. Because I feel like that's always the attitude I have found from people who talk about human design, is that they're just like, whatever. Like if you try it and you apply it and you like it, like, cool. If not, then fine, just leave it alone. Like, don't worry about it. And to me, that's always I feel like that's everything. You know, it's so easy to go into something and be super skeptical. Like, I think there's like this kind of like arrogance, I think, that people who are skeptical have, where they're like, oh my God, this is so stupid. Who would believe this? Right. And you're just like, okay, look, it's fine. You don't have to believe it. And to be honest, I feel like you don't have to, like what you just said, you don't even have to believe it to benefit from it. Like, just see it, just like try and apply it and see if it's useful for you. Because to me, that's really the only measure, is like, I don't really even care if this is real. I don't care if it's accurate. I just care if it's useful. Like, do I feel better when I do this? Do I get better results when I do this? And if that's true, then that's kind of the only thing that matters, you know?
Exactly. There are a lot of human design theorists and coaches and certified practitioners who take human design very spiritually seriously. So it's like some people really do connect with it in that way. For me personally, it hasn't been a spiritual practice. It's like a practical strategic framework. And a lot of people get frustrated or upset when I say that, but it's because like I refuse to let my my spirituality cloud the efficacy of the framework itself.
Mm.
And approaching it that way has actually been much more beneficial for me compared to a lot of people get sucked into the details and sucked into like reading and researching everything about Ra and trying to validate the system itself and how it came to be and what it represents. And to be honest, like I don't really care. And I know a lot of people would be like, oh my gosh, like, what do you mean? What
Yeah.
do you mean? I mean, it's the similar aspect though to like if you look at the process of canonization of the Bible and how the Bible came to be, it's
Hmm.
messed up. I will just be super. I went to Bible school. That
Okay.
was like I've been on a huge spiritual journey
Yeah.
throughout my life. Was
I'd love to
born
hear about it.
into evangelical family, very like Christian, very strict dogma, and
Hmm.
I went to Bible school. I decided I was going to like basically become a theologian. But then I went to
Hmm.
Bible school and I learned about the process of canonization and I learned about the process of translation, and I'm very into languages, and I just started to see all these holes in the process.
Yeah.
And
Can you
so
talk about that a little more before we? Sorry, because
yeah,
we sometimes we just go down rabbit holes in this, but I would like
yeah,
to hear more about that specifically because it's not something I talk about a lot on the
yeah.
podcast, and I haven't had a guest on to talk about it specifically. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, essentially what you need to know is that a bunch of religious leaders got together and they cherry picked which books of the Bible and which of Christ's disciples' books and which other books they were going to include in the
Hmm.
biblical canon. And there was no real spiritual foundation for that process. The foundation for
Hmm.
that process was, and I would probably get a lot of potential hate for saying this, but I believe most of it was based in fear and based in
Hmm.
control. And the reason they chose certain books and left out certain books was because it threatened the very foundation of the control and the money of the church. And
Interesting.
that whole process, when I started learning about it and diving into the rabbit holes there, it really crumbled my own personal spirituality and faith.
Interesting.
And however, the books of the Bible that I still apply to my life, the teachings of actual Jesus Christ, make me a better person and
Mm.
create much more joy and ease and gratitude in my life. So I
Mm.
don't buy how the process happened. I don't believe it was solid. I don't think it was based in integrity. I don't believe it was based in truth. I believe it was based in dogma,
Mhm.
control, and money.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
feel like when it comes
so,
to the Bible, like
yeah,
so because I was raised similarly. I was raised super religious, and maybe 5 6 years ago, I was like, you know what, this doesn't make sense,
yeah, yeah,
and I stepped away from it. And what I will say is that I think to me the difference, and this I see this parallel also when it comes to what you're talking about with human design, is that there are it's I don't believe that the Bible is the word of God,
yeah,
but I also don't have to believe it's the word of God to think that there are things in it that are beneficial, right?
exactly,
I can look at it and
exactly.
be like, hey, like that was useful. Hey, that's good advice, or hey, that's a good thing to apply if I wanted to do so.
Yes. It's not,
Um,
I don't believe it's infallible. I don't believe any system
exactly.
is any creation of a human being,
Yeah.
even if it was infused with the word of God or the universe or truth or whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it. Like, we are fallible beings. Everything we touch has imperfection. And that's
Yeah.
actually what makes it beautiful, but it's also flawed. And
Yeah.
so if we take a creation of a human being and we call it complete and utter truth, I think that in and of itself is a fallacy, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly. And so
just by the
that's how you feel about
nature,
human design as well then. Is that like, hey, however it came about, whatever,
yeah,
but look, I found it to be useful and effective.
absolutely. I don't believe it's perfect. And I've seen some people who have read their design and been like, no, this is not for me. And Cool. I will not be offended. I'm not hurt about it, but I know from personal experience how much it can benefit me and benefits my clients.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, like, I can't help but incorporate it into how I teach.
Yeah. For me, when it comes to human design, well, because of the way that I was raised, anything having to do with astrology or whatever was just like, absolutely
Oh,
not.
same.
It's not
Same.
real. It's fake. And if it is any sort of real, it's demonic or something, right? So I was very like not interested and kind of, opposed to it until I got to
Right.
this point, like I said, where I taken a step back and I looked at it myself. And to me, so I've talked about this before on the show that like I have a certain like love hate kind of push pull towards like personality tests and things like
Right.
that because everyone wants to. I feel like everyone's on this path of like self discovery, right? And
Yeah.
so you feel drawn to it because you feel like you're learning something about yourself. But at the same time, I found that like certain personality things that people were then using it as like a box, like to put
Yeah.
themselves in, where it was like, this is who I am and I'm not changing. And that's why, this is why I am who I am because I'm this personality type. And for me, I never liked that idea of being put into a box either because I was like, well, for example, like the Myers-Briggs stuff,
Yeah.
when it talks about introversion versus extroversion, this could be coming from a place of not fully understanding what it means by it. But I remember for me thinking like, you know what? There's times where I feel introverted and there's other times where I feel very extroverted. Like it just
Yeah.
depends on the situation, depends on the time of day, depends on the circumstance. Like there's so many things that would determine whether or not I felt that way that it
Yep.
seemed so weird to put an introvert or extrovert label on myself. Like it never made sense to me. And what I found with human design when I looked into it and I like put in all of my information and it spit all this stuff out, I felt like I was reading like just like someone had watched me my whole life and written this description of me. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is insane. Like, I just remember thinking, this is crazy how accurate this feels. Like it's kind of nuts. And like I said, coming from this background of like, oh, it's not real or whatever, or like, most people just, I guess I can't say most people, probably half of people, right? Just completely
Yeah.
write off astrology when they hear it. Like, oh, that's stupid. That's silly. To me, like if I had to sum up what human design is, for me, it feels like a modern practical version of astrology. And actually that's a modern practical, more in-depth, detailed version of astrology.
Yeah. Well, what I will say is that it incorporates and is based on astrology.
Okay.
So they go hand in hand. You can't
Okay.
have human design without astrology. It's based in astrology. And the other thing is that once you really get into astrology, there are thousands of variables and aspects and transits and things to learn about and to know. So I don't want to like discount astrology because human design wouldn't exist without it. But what I will say is that human design makes astrology, for me, more practical and more actionable and easier to actually synthesize into action points, like, which is always important for me. I'm a very action oriented person. I'm like, this is great, but what do I do with it? And that's also where like some interpretation comes into the game, right? Because it's like, it's a descriptive system. It tells you what it is, but where a lot of human design isn't clear is, well, what do I do with this now? And that's where a lot of like my own intuitive teaching and kind of my own frameworks have come from, is like, I understand the system back and front, but I've had to intuitively learn how to actually put it into action. Because it's not like human design or raw created a like human design for business. Like there are people who have extrapolated the information into practical, actionable processes, but it's pretty easy to intuit those things once you understand the system.
Sure. Well, and I can see too how that also isn't necessarily the intention, right? Like it is almost meant to be more of like a, hey, here's some information. You have to still figure out how to apply it. Like
Exactly.
like the basis of it is essentially just like, here's some information about you that maybe you
Yep.
didn't know. And that if you read this and realize, hey, that actually does make kind of sense. I realize when I do this, I get this result and I feel better. Like maybe I should lean into that more. Like that's kind of that's how I view it, is more of like a
Yes,
companion to help you make better decisions about your life to get better results and be happier.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
perfectly said.
If you're enjoying the show and want to support, go to howtobeaperson.co and click support the show. The more support the show gets, the more episodes can be produced. So one of the things I'm wondering, because you said that at the time when you came to human design, did you say that you were an atheist?
Yeah.
Okay, so how has like human design shifted your perspective when it comes to the nature of reality and, atheism?
Yeah, what I will say is that human design for me, like I said, was a very practical system. It was really about how can I use this to better my life? I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to use it as a spiritual foundation or framework.
Yeah.
But in my own exploration, I started studying law of attraction. I started studying the power of the human mind and how our assumptions and what we believe shapes our reality. And I started learning about the law of assumption, law of attraction, all the laws of the universe. And I just started kind of similar spiritual process exploration of could this really work for me or could it not? And some things, like a lot of what I will say, I don't want to be, I'm not going to preface myself. I'm just going to say it.
Sure.
A lot of manifestation teachers are preaching BS that doesn't actually work because it's based in fallacies and foundations that aren't actually true. But through my own discovery, kind of where I've ended on my spiritual journey is that we have ultimate agency. We are sovereign beings in this universe, and everything that we perceive is a reflection of us. Everything that we manifest into our life, every situation we encounter, every person we have a conversation with is a reflection of our assumptions about life, reality, the nature of humanity, all of it. Everything is a reflection of us. And so I believe that we do have ultimate agency to decide what we experience in our life. And that if frameworks like human design or religion or other, astrology, whatever, if it helps you to live a good life and makes your life better, awesome. If you hate it and reject it and you don't want any of those frameworks, cool. I literally could not care less.
Yeah.
But the baseline foundation that I'm operating from, which I have to meet my clients eye to eye with, because if we don't see things the same way, I can't coach them because our underlying assumption about the nature of the universe and reality has to be the same. And I believe we are in not just control, but we are the creators, the co-creators of our reality with the universe. I mean, I could literally talk about or write a book about that discovery journey, but I have validated it for myself over and over and over and over again. So I'll just give you an example. Earlier this week, I decided I want to manifest $10,000 this week because I have a vacation coming up. I want to have some money in my more money in my bank account just for fun money for the trip outside of what I already have. And so I made that decision and I had no idea how it was going to manifest. Zero idea, because I didn't really have a super high ticket offer that I was selling. I'm selling my membership, which is amazing, but it's low ticket. So I just kind of went throughout my day. And the day I made that declaration, I had an idea drop in to my awareness. I reached out to one person that I felt inspired to reach out to about it, and they bought instantly. One high ticket sale, 2 more high ticket sales came from people reaching out and asking me about the offer. And I had a $10,000 day. So it took me literally less than 12 hours to manifest $10,000. And it's because I wasn't attached to how it was going to happen. I made the decision. I didn't just believe it was going to happen. I made a firm declaration decision that it was going to happen. And then the idea came 12 hours or whatever, 6 hours later. And then within 12 hours, the outcome had happened. This happens to me all the time. When I make a decision, I stay open to the possibility of how it's going to happen and it manifests. fortunately, human design does inform the process of how you can manifest with more ease. And that's why, in order to really use human design to its fullest capacity, also having the belief in ultimate agency is
Mm.
very helpful and useful. So that's
Yeah.
just an
Yeah.
example.
No, I love that. My wife and I have had a lot of conversations about stuff like this too, because there's times where I feel like I've manifested things so like you're like, what? How did that happen? And
Yeah.
it's something where like you're like, oh my gosh, the chances of that are just so astronomically low, right? And I know
Yeah.
about the reticular activating system where it's like
Yeah.
if you're thinking about something, you'll notice it. Okay, fine, fine, fine. But I'm just saying, like, there's times where I've experienced stuff and I'm like, that is not just me noticing it. That was
Yeah.
I was how did that happen? Like there's just the
Yeah.
chances that are so slim, it's insane. And my point is that like I've noticed the same thing, like what you just said about where you're like you have the intention but you're also detached and you're
Yeah.
kind of like, whatever, I just would like this.
Yeah. It's like, yeah,
That's like
this is going
always
to
when stuff
happen. I don't
yeah,
know
that's always when
how.
stuff happens, is like when I'm
Yep.
detached and I just go, oh yeah, that'd be really, like, honestly, I almost feel like I've come up with this like this phrase that is just something that I always say and I didn't realize I say it, and it's like my way of creating stuff. It's just like, man, it would be really cool if, and then I whatever the
Mm-hmm.
thing is. But like if I that's like the words that have just come out of me genuinely, just thinking, oh man, it would be really cool if this, and then I
Yes.
forget about it and go live my life, and then it happens, and I'm like, I
Yes.
realize that that's what I was saying every time that happened.
Yeah.
So now,
I say
yeah.
something similar. I say, like, it's going to be so cool when. And I
Mm.
like that affirmative because it's a little bit more declarative. It's like, it's going to be so cool when I manifest $10,000 today. It's like, what?
Yeah,
How is that going to happen? I have no idea. But
yeah.
I believe that the way that we jack up our own process of creation and manifestation is the interference of logic. And that sounds silly because
Mm.
I'm a very logical thinker.
Yeah.
I like have made a lot of strategic decisions in my life, but again, that never led me to where I wanted to be. I was
Mm.
making less money in my business than I wanted to. I was stressed out. I was chronically sick. I was not in a good state. Like, my relationships were in a far different state than they are now. Everything in my life was harder until I started to really think about and apply this principle of, like, well, what if I just believed that I could make a decision about something and see how it's going to happen and just let it happen, and then it actually manifests in my life? And that underlying assumption is why human design is effective for me. It's why I can take principles of the Bible and of the Quran and of all of these resources, Joe Dispenza. Like, I use all of these frameworks and resources from other people as a helpful tool, but it's not the underlying thing that my entire belief system is based on.
Mm.
I believe that I have the power, and that is ultimate manifestation, creative capacity.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think like when it comes to human design, like to me, when I look more into it, every time I look at it, I think, oh, if I had just trusted myself, I would have acted in alignment with this already.
Exactly.
And I think that's, to me, like that's what I feel like human design is like it shines a light on what it is that you like
Yeah.
you naturally would have done anyway, but like you fight
Mm-hmm.
it with
Yes.
logic, right? You're like,
100%.
logically I should do this thing. And so you end up not doing the thing that like deep down you want to do and should do. And then you read the thing and you're like, oh man, I should have
Yes.
done it the way I said, because that was the right. So my point is that like I think what I really like about it is that it's not telling you what to do. It's more like shining a light on what's the easiest way to live your life.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'll just illustrate one way we could look at this. There
Okay.
are 5 human design types,
Yeah.
and each type has a unique aura. So I'll just give you like a brief overview of what those look like, just for the audience, so they kind of can
Yeah, absolutely.
understand, like, we're talking about it, but not really explaining it. So let me explain.
That's true. We've been talking around it this whole time.
Talking around it, let's explain. Okay,
Yeah.
so the first type is a generator. Generators have what's called a defined sacral, and you may have heard this if you've ever studied the chakra system. Your sacral, which is located in your like lower belly region, it's an energy center, and the sacral is it is life force energy. It's this really magnetic, potent, powerful creative force. And when you have it defined, you're either a generator or a manifesting generator. And what manifesting generators and generators are designed to do by nature, by mechanical nature of that sacral, is to respond to the things that life brings them, or that other people bring them, or that, you know, your own ideas bring you. So an example is, let's say you have the opportunity to go on a once in a lifetime trip. When you're a generator or manifesting generator, you can feel into and not think about, but literally notice how your body responds to this idea of this life, once in a lifetime trip. And you're going to notice, if you're a gen or a mani gen, your life force is either going to respond by opening and feeling like expanded, or it's going to feel like either flat or constricting or contracting. And when you get really good at listening to that energy, like the expansive energy, or you get the contraction, you actually start responding to those things, your life starts to go better. I kid you not. Sounds insane, but I'll, like, the example of like the money manifestation. I, you know, had that idea of that offer. I felt my body, like my sacral, expanding with that offer. And then the person that I got the hit to actually propose this thing to, it was a sacral response. And when my sacral was like, yes, like, absolutely, go tell this person about this offer. And it was an immediate yes. So it's like that intuition that drives mani gens and gens with that sacral yes or no can create better manifestations than any other manifestation method that I've ever experimented with.
So this is me, by the way, everything you just described, because I'm a manifesting generator, sacral authority. And for me, actually, when I discovered like what felt like yes and what felt like no while I was driving Uber, because
oh my gosh, I love that.
It's literally like, it's just a constant stream of, here, do you want this? And so I had all of these opportunities. Like, this was when I was learning about it, and I was driving Uber, and I was thinking, oh, I guess I could use it to choose like which rides I'm going to take and which ones I'm not going to take. And it was really interesting doing things that way, because I would like meet people and have these like really good conversations, and like people would leave me like super big tips and all this stuff. And I was like, this is kind of interesting. So for me, what I found was that I would make a noise, and I wasn't aware of this, that like when something was interesting to me, I go, and if it wasn't, I'd be like, so I start paying attention to myself now. When I'm presented with something, I go, if I go, or if I go, then I just go, oh, okay, there's my answer, you know?
Yes, exactly. And a lot of people really do overthink this. And some people have a really hard time getting to know that part of themselves because they're so logic minded. And that was my difficulty when I first came into human design, because I was so analytical, because I had been in like corporate marketing. Like, what do you do when you're in corporate marketing? You like analyze things, make decisions based on the data all day. So, but that's kind of how I started to use my sacral, was like, when I feel mine's not a noise so much as it is like, I feel like drawn towards, or like, like there is an acquiescing opening energy for me. So I just started to look at the data, which decisions that I made with the or the yes went well, which decisions that I made without the went well. And the data was heavily in this sacral obviously knows. There's something about it. That's what clicked for me initially. And then everything else about it kind of fell into place after that point. But that's like the most common types. The manifesting generator and generator comprise roughly 70% of the population. But we also have projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. So those types all have different nuances in how they're designed to make decisions, how they're like, what their authority is. Authority meaning like their decision-making authority. And every single time I've worked with a person to really just even work on that one part of identifying their authority, working with it, things start to go better in their life. It's absolutely, like, I can't explain it, I mean, I could explain it using quantum mechanics and like whatever, but it's pretty incredible how much it
Yeah.
changes lives. So
Yeah. Well, this is why I got to a point where, well, because I didn't explain this before, but I was, like I said, I was raised very religious, and then I think this is everyone who leaves a religion. They go like super atheist,
yeah,
even if it's just for like a day, like it could be a day or it could be the rest of their life. Right. But I think that's like what happens is like you're super religious. If you leave, you go like super atheist. And then for me, it was kind of like, oh, like I kind of came back to like the middle where it was like, okay, I don't know if there's nothing like,
yeah,
and I don't think it's this thing that I was taught,
yeah.
but I don't think there's nothing, right? I'm like, there's something
There's
going on
something.
here.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, I actually really feel like human design played a big part in that for me, that
Mm,
realization, because it was just so spot on in every single, like, obviously there's like so many different, I don't even know what you would call them, like aspects or
yeah.
factors in human design. And it was like every single one was just hitting the nail on the head. And it just made me go, okay, this is crazy. Like, how is that? There's something more here, and that was obviously one of the things, but I just felt like it was human design was a main part in me realizing, okay, I think there's more going on here.
Yeah.
I still to this day can't tell you exactly what it is. I feel like that's honestly something I love about life, is that I
Yeah.
don't know.
I
Like
think
I don't.
anybody who tells you they know with 100% certainty hasn't done enough self-discovery.
Right? I feel like the ultimate end goal is to go, you know what? I don't know. And I'm
Yeah.
and I'm still
And
happy,
I'm
and I
cool
can
with
still.
that. Yes.
Yes,
And I'm still
exactly.
living a great life.
Yeah. Well, then that's
Yeah.
the point, right? It's ultimately like, hey, if you're happy and you have a good life, who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the whole point, right?
I think so.
Um, so what I would like to do is, because like I said before, we met through Threads. There were a
Yeah.
couple things that I wanted to talk about that I came across when it came to Threads. First of all, what's so funny is that when I connected with you more recently to say, hey, I want to have you on my podcast, I didn't realize that I had already been seeing your stuff. You know how it is, like with the
Yeah.
algorithm, where they just show you the same person's stuff over and over again, even if you don't follow, because they just know like,
Yeah.
hey, you want to see this person's stuff. And maybe I was following you already. I really don't know. But it's funny because we had one interaction and I said, oh man, I would love to have you on the show. And you said yes. And then I'm looking through my old screenshots this week and I'm like, hey, I screenshotted something from you in January.
It's
This is
amazing.
crazy. So I would love to like look at actually a couple of those things and talk about them a little bit. If you're enjoying the show, I think you'll love my book by the same name, How to Be a Person, 100 Gems on Living a Good Life, available now on Amazon. So first of all, the thing that I had screenshotted in January, it was the lines, the
Yeah.
numbered lines, okay? And I screenshotted the ones that applied to me,
Yeah.
but it's basically one through 6, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in this post, you were talking about depending on which line, because everyone has 2 in their
Yes.
human design chart, correct? Okay. So depending on which 2 you have, that would affect the way that you would generate wealth.
Yeah.
And so for me, the ones that are in my chart were 2 and 4, and that was what I screenshotted. So I actually would mind, if you would mind, I would just like to read them and then we can kind of
Yeah.
talk about them a little.
Absolutely.
Okay. So for 2, it was for 2 lines, the natural genius. In order to generate wealth, basically all you need is to be so good at what you do that the right people can't help but call you out. Your wealth is in withdrawal, going deep, and mastering your craft in private, then letting your work do its thing. Trying to quote unquote be visible like a 5 line is literally exhausting for you. Your magnetism is natural. Stop forcing yourself onto stages and into the algorithm when your genius literally requires you to hermit. Okay. And then for the 4 line, it was the networked wealth. 1 million followers might sound nice, but what you actually need is deep relationships with the right people. Your wealth is in your network, the ones who know you, trust you, and refer you. To sum it up, intimate connection is your wealth strategy.
Mm.
You're supposed to be known by your people. That's where the money is. So a couple of things. First of all, something popped in my head when I was reading this was what we were talking about before, that like about trusting yourself. And then ultimately that's kind of what human design is just kind of shining a light on these things that you probably already like deep down knew. And then you go, oh, okay, I should have just listened to myself. Right. And I realized in my life, like some of the best parts of my life were decisions that I made that didn't make sense, but that felt right. and they
Yes.
brought me to like these like just most amazing, like the most fun, most exciting, most full of love and passion things in my life all came from moments where I made decisions that way.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch on that before we go into
I
this.
love that.
But yeah, let's talk about the lines, and
Yeah.
how they relate to generating wealth.
Absolutely. So our profile lines, everybody has profile lines in all of their planetary aspects. It's just jargon. But the lines specifically relate to how we interact and engage with other people. And wealth comes through other people. It does not come through just like money falling from the sky. Like we would all
Yeah.
love money trees, but that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So profile lines really dictate how we engage and interact with the people and the things around us. So for example, the 2 line is we call it the hermit, but also the natural genius. And so the 2 line is literally designed to withdraw, like I said in the post, master your craft, really allow yourself time to be inward focused and working on your thing, whatever that thing is. And then when you allow it to be seen, then people will call you out and invite you into the right spaces to share your genius with their communities, with the world. Like I have 2 line clients who get invited to be on like insane like international publications or on the TED stage. They don't apply, they get asked. 2 lines are designed to be called out for their genius rather than like really try to like make themselves highly visible. So they need the right network, the right connections. 2 lines don't need huge mass, and same with the 4 line, like don't need mass exposure, but you get mass exposure by honoring the cyclical nature of the hermit, which is like going into your cave, doing your thing, like doing your process, learning your craft, and then bringing it to the people, the right people. Again, that's crucial, because if you just try to put yourself online as a 2 line and try to like post, so many 2 lines end up feeling so depleted and like, why isn't it working? And it's because you're really designed to be called out. So that's why more intimate connections actually benefit 2 lines better than the huge stages, because when the right person sees you and connects with you, then they create opportunities for you. So your opportunities as a 2 line really do come from other people, same as the 4 line. The 4 line is also...
So hold on, before we jump into the 4 line, I was thinking too, when it comes to the 2 line, because I'm thinking about myself, because this applies to me. I'm thinking about social media, and it's like, I could see how like having like, okay, I'm going to post this many times and then consistently, as opposed to just being like, hey, when I feel compelled to, that's when it kind of makes sense, because you're bringing something that you have, that you've either been working on, like a skill or a thought. And then it's like, oh, that now it's ready to bring to the world. And then you bring it out, as opposed to being like, I got to post today.
Yes.
Is that, because I know you were saying specifically about like, I just want to, I'm curious if that makes sense.
2 lines who post from obligation will burn out in their business. 2 lines who try to become visible without really being in the mastery of their craft and honoring their alone time will not last in business online. So it's very important that you use your authority, your sacral, right? Your sacral authority, or whatever your authority is in your design, to dictate how you put yourself out there, to create in alignment with that line, versus like, 5 lines on the other hand are designed to show up and be loud and be visible in all the spaces that they occupy, because they are literally designed to lead the new wave of leadership in the world. Like they're very no bullshit. Like they're going to say it how they say it. And 5 lines are put on a pedestal by the people around them naturally, which is why when they show up on social media, people have a tendency to listen to them, because they have this energy of like, I know what I'm talking about. Come listen to me. And they do, honestly. So it's very, and it's an incredible like dynamic when you have somebody who's both a 5 line and a 2 line at the same time, because they every part of human design has like dichotomy or paradoxes
Yeah.
where people feel like, okay, I'm a 5 line, so I can be loud and visible, but I'm a 2 line and I'm a hermit, and I need, how do I balance those things? That's the eternal
Mm,
question. That is the nature of
mm,
humanity, is duality, right? And that's very
yeah.
much human design. So a 2 line paired with a 4 line, 4 lines are networkers. They're connected. They're meant to have a community. They're meant to be out in their like groups of people, not huge, but like intimate, deep connections. But when your hermit and your networker are warring with each other, it can feel like you're broken, but you're not. That's literally
Mm,
just the flow and the balance that you get to discover throughout your life is, how do you
yeah.
balance your hermit while honoring your desire to be connected with other people? Because you can
Yeah.
have both in a beautiful balance.
Yeah. This is really why to me, like human design is so crazy, because I
Yeah.
look at my life and I see like a perfect reflection of everything that we just talked about. Like I think back when I was younger, and I first was getting into like learning how to play guitar,
Yeah.
I remember I had these friends who were like probably 10 years older than me. Right. But we were in similar, groups. And so I would see them every so often. And I was at home and like they would play guitar, and I was like, oh man, they're so good. Like that's so cool. I want to learn. And so I was at home and I'm by myself just playing over and over again, learning these songs, like getting really good at it. And then I like hung out with them and pulled out the guitar and started playing. And they're like, where did that come from? Like, you know, and
Yes.
I'm thinking like same thing with like, okay, so I'm a commercial actor. I took an acting class in high school, and the teacher was like, you'd be really good at this. You should get into acting. I didn't. Right. And like
Yeah.
literally 2 years ago, I got served an ad of like, here's how to get into commercial acting. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Like I'm going to do it, and like just not related to anything else I do. And I was like, well, let me try. And so I bought this guy's course. I
Yeah.
did what he said, and I applied to a talent agent, a single talent agent,
See?
and they brought me on instantly. So like no joke, from the day I saw that ad
Yeah.
till the day I got signed by a talent agent was 2 weeks. And it was
Amazing.
like most people will go years trying to get signed by a talent agent, right?
Yep.
And even just trying to break into it. And for me, it was 2 weeks from the moment I saw the ad to when I got signed. And it was
Yep.
like, and I still will sometimes, because when I'm on set, you're talking to other actors about how you get into stuff, and they're all just like, I could tell they're kind of like mad because they put all this effort in, and it's funny
Ow.
because to me it doesn't make me feel like, oh, I'm better. It means like, no, there's something like that for you too, right? Like
Yeah.
there's something that
Exactly.
like it's just going to work out perfectly for you. And for me, it just happened to be this thing.
Yes.
But for you, it's like there's something else where it's gonna slide into place perfectly. And I could look
Yep.
at it and be jealous, but that's silly because that's you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And this is me. That's the reason why this worked out. But my point is that same thing where it's almost like as if, oh, I had this talent, this skill that was like hidden. And then
Yep.
as soon as I brought it forward, and of course in a way that felt right,
Yep.
I didn't apply to a dozen agencies. I just picked the one that felt right. And they immediately brought me on.
Yeah.
Like no questions asked,
That's
And
literal
so
like perfection 2 line strategy. Like go master your craft, allow yourself to like and it doesn't take long. Here's the other thing about being a natural genius. It is
Okay.
natural. Your abilities as an actor were not something you had to cultivate over 40 years of your life.
Nope.
You
Nope.
just took a class. It was already within you and you knew it. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. 2 lines have this ability, and sometimes the issue is like they don't feel like they've earned it, or they don't feel like they worked hard enough to do that thing and to allow that to be the way
Yep.
that they generate wealth or the way that they actually succeed. They feel like they have to do the thing that's hard and grueling. So that's like the shadow side of that line is like, yes, you're a natural genius. Yes, you have this ability to like master something, and everybody's like confused about how the heck you did it. But you have to give yourself permission. And that is the biggest trip for a 2 line is like, I'm going to freaking own this. I'm damn good and I can't explain why or how, but here I am and I'm going to go out there with it.
Yeah, I love that so much. Well, and I've had this conversation on the podcast before. I think that there's sometimes people who will like do things that you look at and you're like, that looks so hard.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it is hard. I worked really hard at this.
People
And
get
then- and I-
so proud of their effort, which I understand.
But my
But
point is that I don't think
yes,
those people actually did that. I think it's their
no,
thing.
yes,
But they have to be like, yeah, it was so hard, because otherwise, I mean, I feel like that's how like society is built. You got to work hard to get what you want. And
yeah,
it's kind of like, so if they did, then they go, yeah, it was really hard. I put in the work. And I'm like, look, I feel like there are different types of hard. I think there is like a misaligned hard where it's
yep,
like, this is a fucking like grueling, hard thing to do that like I cannot do.
yeah,
And then there's like an aligned hard where you're like, this is challenging, but I love it. You know
yes,
what I mean? And I
exactly.
feel like that's the people where you go and you're like, oh my God, that's so hard. I think what it is like it's a misaligned hard for you and it's an
Yeah,
aligned hard for them.
exactly. Well, and it's not like anything that you master in the material plane is easy. Like, even if it comes naturally to you, the process of actually utilizing that and everything that goes with it, it still requires work. But sometimes it's work you really love. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
work you feel like you're obligated to and you have to do it. And therefore, it's like you said, misaligned hard. So you gotta,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you, life is hard. I will not like pretend it's not, but it can also be like fun hard. Like
Yes.
let's
Yes.
make
To
it
me, it's
like
like a sport. To me, it's like a
yes,
sport.
exactly.
If you're playing baseball, is it hard to run from home plate to first base when you hit the ball? Yes. But
Yes.
no one's talking about that later. They're not
No.
like, oh my God, it was so hard. No, you're enjoying yourself. You're having
Yes.
fun. And that to me is because I agree with you. Like, I think, there's a lot of times where I used to say that life is hard. And I don't say that anymore because I don't feel like that's true. I feel like
Yeah.
life is hard if you choose for it to be.
Yeah.
But I also think that like what you just said, I feel like adds clarity, because when I say that, I think some people go like, how could you possibly say that?
Yeah. Well, there are
But
going
it
to be,
really is about the sport thing. It's
it
more like,
is.
hey, if you're enjoying it, is that actually hard? No, it's an aspect of this thing that you're already enjoying doing, you know?
Well, I'll give you an example. For me,
Okay.
human design is incredibly dense. There's so much information. There's so much to learn. Same with astrology, which I'm now really stepping more into that because it's really fun. But here's the thing, like some people look at human design and like look at the requirements of what it takes to actually like learn and master it. And they're like, hell no, there's no way I could
Mhm.
pick up all the things. There's so much to know. How could I ever know all of that? It's so fun for me. I eat it up. It's like my entire system just wants to like consume all of it. It's I can't, and I was the same way in school. Like I learned French and Spanish and Italian, all these languages, not
Mm,
because it was like you still there's a lot of reading and practice and implementation to do these things. That in itself is not easy, but it was so fun for me that I couldn't not do it. So I think more people, if they leaned more into the fun hard and
mm,
actually like, hey, this might be challenging, but it'll be worth it because I love it. So I think a lot of people get stuck in that point of like, well, I went to school for this. I worked really hard at it. Like
mm.
I spent 8 years learning this, but are you enjoying it? No. So many people that you find in those really prestigious careers do not like what they're doing. And they're doing it because it's an obligation and it's part of their identity, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what human design I like, that it helps you kind of like demystify your alignment. It's like what's actually fun, what actually feels good, what actually brings you into your signature energy, which every design type has a signature energy. So for
Yeah.
gens and Manny gens, our signature is it's for manifesting generators. I think it's more of an energy of freedom, and you have freedom of your time and enjoyment of your time, but it's also layered with satisfaction. And for
Yeah.
generators, it's satisfaction. Like there's nothing better than having a great day with clients for me and coming to the end of the day and I'm just like so freaking satisfied by my work, by everything in my everything that happened in that day is so freaking satisfying.
Yeah.
So that's like the barometer is like, are you satisfied in your life? Are you satisfied in certain areas and not others? Because even that, if you learn nothing else about human design, but you know you're a generator and you start evaluating where in your life you're frustrated and where
Mm.
in your life you're satisfied, if you just make decisions based on that, your life will radically change for the better.
Yeah, that's amazing. If you're a business owner looking to start, grow, or scale, funding might be more accessible than you think. Go to howtobeaperson.co and click business funding to see if you qualify now.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to ask about was that thread that I had interacted with you on that was how we ended up scheduling something.
Yeah.
So I want to share it with people here and we can talk about it a little bit. So you'd said if you're a sacral type and you're cold pitching, just stop. And I said sacral authority here and have always hated cold calling. Didn't know that had anything to do with human design. And he said it's literally contrary to how we're designed. And I think so. What's funny about this, because I feel like I can answer my own question, but what I was thinking about with it. So I've had different sales jobs in the past, and I remember the ones where people came to me, I did amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like I worked at a car dealership for a very short amount of time because I didn't get along with the management there, but I did amazing at it. And like I sold cars like super easily because it was people walking in.
Exactly.
And then there was one point when I was selling life insurance, and there were some people who were teaching, hey, you have to, buy leads and call them. And there were other people who were like, hey, it's more money, but you can pay for something called instant transfers, where the person's already either called it for information, or they've already been cold called and they know that they're interested, and then they just pass it over to you. And it was killing me doing the one where I was calling the leads. Like I would call like maybe 3 or 4 people, and someone would tell me off, and I would just be like, I'm done. Like the whole day was just done. I couldn't do anything else, And then I had these instant transfers, and it was like instantly better. I had like a super high close rate to the point where people are like, what? How are you closing that many of your calls? That's insane. They're like, I want to know what your script is, which is kind of funny. It takes us back to the beginning of the conversation where, right, it's like someone's trying to teach what they did. And it's just like, no, that's just because that works for me,
Exactly. Yes.
But it is funny to see this because, and so I think if I understand correctly, it's because the sacral is supposed to be like, hey, things are presented to you and you are more like, oh, I'm into this or not into this, as opposed to you're present, like with cold calling, it's like you're shoving yourself onto a person and trying to make something happen.
Yeah. So there is a type that are actually designed to instigate and to inform. So manifestors, they're a very small percentage of the population, I believe like 10 to 12%. But manifestors actually are designed to initiate. So I've actually been on the receiving end of certain manifestors selling things to me, and it felt great because for whatever reason, their intuition, so manifestors get this urge, it's self-created. It's not in response to anything. They just get this unexplainable urge to take an action or to speak something into existence or to, tell somebody something. And so when they follow through on that, and the person on the receiving end is receiving that, it feels different than when somebody who's a manifesting generator or a generator is initiating. Because if we initiate just from a vacuum, our aura collapses. Like people immediately don't respect us. Like they're immediately like, who are you? Like what? Like, I don't understand what's happening. So we have what's called an open and enveloping aura. And in order for our aura to stay open and enveloping, we have to respond to things that are already in our energy. So for example, that client that I made an offer to earlier this week, she was already in my energy. Like we had already been in conversation. We had already been like chatting. So I didn't cold pitch her. She was already somebody who the idea came into my mind, and I was like, yes, I'm going to approach this person with this idea because I'm responding to this idea that's specifically in reference to her. And that's why it went so well. But I spent 6 months with a coach who was a cold call expert and did cold pitches in the DMs. And I added hundreds of friends, if not thousands of friends on Facebook, reached out to 20 people a day for months, and literally made like less than $1,000 from this like very expensive investment in this program. Other people were just succeeding, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? And then I switched my model to attraction marketing, which is literally where I was just talking about my offers. I was adding people, but I wasn't pitching them. They were coming to me, and then my close percentage went from like 5% to literally 95%. Like it was outrageous
Yeah,
how
that's
how
crazy.
much my sales just turned around. And now I will never sell from a cold pitch, ever. Never in my life would I ever
Mm,
be desperate enough to do that, because it does not work.
mm.
I
Yeah, it
mean,
makes so much sense. It makes
it's
so much sense. I
crazy.
love this. I feel like, I mean, obviously, it's so there's so many different aspects. Like I had my human design chart pulled up, and I'm looking, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't even know if this is everything, but on this page that's showing all of these different aspects of it, there's like 12 or 13 of them. And
Yeah,
it's like, I feel like we could probably talk for like 6 hours about this,
we could,
if
we
not
could.
more, if
I
not more.
I actually have one of my offers, like a human design intensive, and we go through 4 90-minute calls to talk about every aspect of their human design.
Wow.
It's an intensive, but it takes about that long to understand the full chart. And even then, there's implementation which takes place after the fact. But
Mm,
it's an intensive process. It's
yeah.
There's so much to understand, and even things that I'm still learning. It's crazy. Like I learn something new every day, because there's also specific combinations that show up. There's, oh my gosh, it's just amazing. The system is truly incredible. Like even if you completely don't believe it, just reading about yourself from the lens of human design, it's eerie. It's like, how could this possibly be true?
Yeah, that's how it felt to me, was when I
Same.
first looked at it. Like it genuinely shocked me. That, I mean, honestly, that's what sold me on just like learning more about it, was
Yeah.
because I read it and I was like, this sounds like someone just watched my whole life up until
Yep.
this point and wrote it down.
Same.
Um, and I think for anyone listening, like, well, so there's a couple things here, right? First of all, if we're talking about just life in general, like, I think that someone, if they, look up their human design chart and see like these things that we're talking about, and it's like
Yeah.
I said, it shines a light on what is in alignment for you. I think that people will like just have a better life experience, right? They'll
Yeah.
be happier, they'll feel more fulfilled, all of those things. And even if, this is my perspective on it, is like, even if you don't believe it, even if it doesn't completely change your life, if it makes your life even 5% happier, like, isn't it worth like just looking at and seeing, like,
Yeah.
maybe
You can
maybe it just
spend,
validates something you already knew, you
yeah,
know?
you don't have to spend that long with it to really feel a shift and to like understand, or some light bulb to come on where it's like, I think I could really get behind that. I could try that. And that's the
Yeah.
point, is like, try it
Mm.
on. If it
Yeah.
resonates, if it lands, if it helps you, amazing. If not, like, no harm done, because it's
Yeah. Well, and I
just
think,
learning, right?
yeah, exactly. It's just another like piece of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
If you want to view it that way. Just
Yeah.
like you were talking before, how it's like, well, I could look at stuff from the Bible and pull something useful out of it, and something from the
Yeah.
Quran and pull something useful out of it. It's like, maybe that's what this is for someone. It's just a piece of something useful.
Yeah.
But I was thinking too, when it comes to like business as well, because that's like primarily what you talk about when it comes to human design.
Yeah.
I think, see, I'm always trying to look at things from like, even though I don't feel like I'm very skeptical, I feel like I can very easily put myself into like the shoes of someone who is skeptical,
Right.
like looking at this. And so I try to like look at it from those different angles. And I think, when it comes to business, right? Someone be like, okay, I get it. You're talking about like, being happy, whatever, but you're saying like with business and making money, this applies.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, I look at it like, if you can recognize that, just set all spirituality, all human design, everything aside, that people have different personalities, and that certain things are going to work better for certain people just based on their, practically speaking, completely atheist personalities, right?
Yeah.
Like, that someone's going to get different results based on those things. It's like, well, then isn't it possible that maybe something you learn in here about human design would also have an effect on the results you get in your business as well? And I think the answer is yes.
Yeah. Well, I think once people start reading my content on Threads and they start like looking at their design, I've had this happen many times where people are like, I really didn't care that much about human design, but then I started reading your content and it was like, how do you know this about me? Like, what? You're like in my head. And I'm like, yeah, that's truly like what human design does, is it gets under the surface and it gives form to things that were previously formless. So it's like explaining about the cold pitching thing. It's like, well, why didn't it work for me? I tried so hard. No matter what I did, it didn't work. And then it was like, okay, explaining it through a human design lens. I'm like, oh, I actually really understand that and now can apply it differently. And now I get better sales results. Like, why would I not try that on? So even if you like literally do not buy any of the spiritual aspect of human design, the practical application and results are enough to at least give it a go. And people do. They come to me all the time in the DMs like, I'm actually now really interested in human design because it feels like you're speaking to my soul. Like, what the heck is that? That's
yeah. I feel like even if it's just something that validates you, right? Like just like you said. And like for me, when I read that, it made me think about that experience with life insurance, because there was a part of me, right? I would talk to other people who were doing it and they're like, oh yeah, man, I'm just grinding it out, calling so many people. And oh man, this person told me off. I'm so fired up. We're going to make 10 more calls. And I'm like, like you almost think like, God, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I do what this person's doing? You know?
Yes.
And then when you see something like this, you go, oh, I see. Like I should have just trusted myself. It didn't feel right. Right.
No.
It was from the very beginning. I always got this like feeling in my chest that I was like, I don't like this. And I don't get nervous. Like I'm not that type of person that gets nervous, but I would just like feel this feeling. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I was forcing myself to do it, you know? And it's like I said, that to me is what human design is. It's like shining a light on what you said, providing form to something that was previously formless. To me, that's how I view it, is like, it's like shining a light on something that like deep down, I already knew this, but I just wasn't willing to like face it. And now because someone else was like, hey, by the way, this is it. And you're like, okay. You know what? I should have just trusted myself to begin with.
So I do want to make an important distinction here because it's a slippery slope. For some people, when they learn human design, it validates them so much that they get comfortable in their dysfunction. What I mean by that is like they start using phrases like, oh, well, I'm a manifesting generator, so I can't blah, 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 blah. Or, well, I'm a projector, so I can't do that. Or, oh, that's because I'm a projector. Like excusing bad behavior or ignoring things about themselves that they actually need to look at because of the human design. And we can do this with anything. Like my ADHD is something I used to use a lot as like an excuse for my bad behavior. It's like, oh, well, I forgot the dishes in the sink because I have ADHD. It's like, well, yeah, that's valid, but also like freaking do the dishes, you know? So this is where it's really important that we view human design through the lens of agency, through true personal power. Because if you truly believe that you have the power, then human design is helpful, but it's not the end all be all. Because some people really take it that way and they're like, it basically becomes their religion. It becomes the thing that like they use to excuse things, they use to explain it away, or they get really stuck in the shadow expression of their self because they are using this as a crutch. So
the way I see it is that it's not about restriction, it's about direction.
Exactly. Yes.
And I totally agree with you. That's actually something I've talked about a lot on the podcast. Like it's, and that was, it was funny. I didn't say it before, but I was thinking that when I was talking about the personality types thing, that's also part of the reason why I didn't like it, is because I felt like not only that it would put people in a box, but it would give you an excuse to not be a better version of yourself. Like, and quite honestly, not even just for the sake of like, you're not good enough, more like, you're not living the happiest, most fulfilled life you could because you're using this as an excuse. It's not about like, you need to be better, you're not good enough. It's like, no, you could have a better experience. Like you could literally be happier and feel more fulfilled if you didn't use this as an excuse, but used it as, again, like it's not about restriction, it's about direction, you know, and using it as kind of like a spotlight on your potential as opposed to like a restriction on what you're capable of.
I see it as permission to be your best self, permission to do things in a way that make no sense, permission to finally let go of the things you've been told you should do and how you should act and how you should be. And, you know, we just get should on all day, every day from the time we're a freaking baby. And human design is a deconstructing of that. And it's a it's an uncovering, a deciphering of self that ends in a permission slip to finally chase those urges that you've wanted to chase and to finally take the actions that everyone else has said were crazy. And when you do that, even if you don't have a framework of human design, you live a better, freer, more peaceful existence.
100%. Hannah, we could probably talk forever about this.
Truly.
We got to wrap up. So for anybody that's listening that wants to connect with you, wants to work with you, how can they do so?
Yeah. Well, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at _ the Hannah Becker. And yeah, that's easiest way to find me.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Well, Hannah, like I said, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you accepting my invitation to come on the show. And maybe we can talk again another time.
Looking forward to it. This was amazing. Thank you.
All right. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thanks for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or share it with someone who'd appreciate it. For everything I have to offer, visit howtobeaperson.co.